comeback continues. We're gonna be doing a what's in the bag today, going over all of my clubs and balls and equipment that I'm gonna be using for the comeback. One of the big things coming back to golf is the clubs from 18-year-old me don't exactly work very well for where I'm at from a strength perspective, swing perspective. So we did the fittings, we've gone through that. I've been playing with them for about a month now, maybe a little bit longer. And so I'm excited to take you guys into what the bag looks like, and let's dive into it. The money clubs are the ones coming first. As you guys know, wedges are a big part of the bag and gapping those well. So we're still tinkering a little bit, but we've got pretty much the wedge setup that we want. I run 4 wedges. So starting with the 60, I run M grind in that 60 with 8 degrees of bounce. In junior golf, I was playing a 4 degrees of bounce because I tend to be a little bit handsy. So I do like being able to slide the club under with a 60. I find with the 8 degrees, I can hit a couple nippers a bit better because I can use that bounce to help skid it off the turf, especially with how hard it is here. So I've actually got the Project X 7.0 wedge shaft. I've got that in my 60 and my 56. So SM9s, Vokeys, all the way through 60, 56, 52. 56 is just gonna be 12 D-grind, same wedge shaft as the 60. And then the 52 is actually where the shaft changes. So just standard 12F bounce, again SM9, but I actually run the Project XLS shaft in these, and I run that shaft from 52 all the way through my 3-iron, which we'll get to in a bit. 7.0, 130 grams. I do like a little bit of a heavier feel when it comes to the shaft that I'm playing. I really like this. The only thing I don't like about the 52 is the gap between 52 and pitching right now. So this may end up getting bent to 51 or 50. I'm gonna do some work on a TrackMan with my wedge matrix and see how accurate I am with my wedge matrix next week, I think. So the pitching is just the T100, which we'll get to with the irons in a second, but it's a 46 degree, actually bent to 47, so which is why I went 52. But that gap between pitching and gap wedge is like 150 stock to 135 stock. So I don't really like to hit 52, 56, 60 full. So just to control the ball flight a little bit. So I'd rather that like 1130 shot with my 52 be closer to 135. So that might end up getting bent. But that's the wedges. Really big fan. Always been a Vokey guy. So it was pretty easy for me to go Vokey again. And I think just figuring out the bounces, especially with the 60 on that M grind, was really nice just because I'm really liking the turf interaction with that club. Irons are the next thing to cover, and I'm a really big fan of the irons I ended up choosing. So from pitching wedge through 4-iron, I went ahead and went with the Titleist T100s. So the end of my junior golf career, probably the last 4 years, I actually played Victory Red blades. I really like the blades just from like a control standpoint, especially for flighting the ball. But what I found with the T100s is I could still control it from a ball flight perspective, especially with that XLS shaft in it, but still get a little bit of forgiveness for the missed strikes, especially when we went 7, 6, 5, 4. With the Victory Reds, I played a combo set, so 4 and 5 was actually the pro combos from that. I almost actually went with blades 7-iron down, but ended up just going full T100 just because the numbers fit a little bit better, and I like the miss hit a little bit more. So the miss was kind of why I ended up going with these. Again, still the 7.0 Project XLS, the same shaft in that 52 in pitching. Love the feel off the club face. And that top line, it's not too fat, even though it's not a blade, it's still got that thin top line. So really been loving these, especially kind of with, I tend to hit a little bit of a toey ball as my miss. So that toey shot's just not diving on me. It's actually kind of staying in the air a little bit. So really loving the T100s. And again, running that pitching wedge through 4-iron. So getting up towards the top of the bag, the top of the bag setup I like right now. I've actually never played a driving iron, but I'm actually playing the Titleist T200 3-iron driving hybrid. When I just look down at it, I prefer to look down at an iron rather than a wood or a hybrid. My junior golf days, I played a hybrid, a couple different ones, but I really like this just from a control perspective. It kind of fits that 240, 245 shot for me in my bag. So a lot of control with this, and I really like hitting it off the tee on par 4s where it's kind of like a little bit more location based. So big fan, still got that Project XLS 7.0 in it. So really been enjoying that club. I feel like I can do a lot with it. So playing that instead of a hybrid. I do jump up to a 3-wood here from that 3-iron hybrid. So I am playing the Titleist TSR3. It is shifted down and slightly open. I do kind of like it shifted down and open. It's on setting B1. Really big fan of this piece. I've got the Ventus TR 8X shaft in it, which we're actually going to talk about in the driver in a bit, just because I do really like this Ventus shaft. Just from a feel perspective, it feels really solid in my hand. For the 3-wood, I do hit this off the tee quite a bit. So off the tee, it's kind of fitting that 280 to 290 shot. Off the ground, kind of like 275. So really liking this club. It fits a really important spot in my bag, and really just enjoying how it feels coming off the club face. 3-woods are more about kind of like launch angle for me, so I tend to go towards a more piercing ball flight with that. So I do really like that TSR3. And then getting to the driver, so this one actually took a bit. So we've actually got the TSR3 as well in the driver. It was really close between this and the Paradigm. I ended up going with this just from a looks perspective. I kind of like looking down at something a little bit more traditional. Really big fan of this. The interesting part with this was the shaft dynamic. So we actually narrowed it down to the Ventus shaft and this Acura shaft when we were looking at the numbers. And the big difference is with the Ventus, I was spinning it a little bit more and my misses were a little bit further as far as like my dispersion charts. So we did end up going with this Acura TZ RPG. It's that 472 M5 Plus. So it is a really nice shaft in my hand. I really don't like shafts that feel whippy near the club face. I like to feel face control. This does it for me. And again, this is on C1 for a setting, so natural ball flight is a draw. And we've actually got that weight out on T1 as well, so a little bit out on the toe, just to kind of slow that toe down for me. But I was playing the Titleist D1 driver beforehand, back from like my junior golf days, and I actually picked up about 20 to 25 yards difference just getting fitted for a better head and better shaft. So really big fan of this, really liking this. Driver is a club that can prevent me from scoring, so it's really important that I have something that I feel a lot of face control with, just because that tends to get me in trouble more than anything else. So yeah, so that is the long portion of the bag. Only thing I have considered is changing that 3-iron hybrid for an interchangeable hybrid as well, depending on the golf course I have. So that's kind of the setup for now, but yeah. The putter is the final club left in the bag, the Make It Rain Odyssey. Now, my entire career I was a Scotty Cameron guy. Love Scotty Camerons, have a problem with how many I have. But I actually did a putter fitting, and the amount of toe hang that kind of helps with my stroke pattern, I do have a slight arc. There's only one putter that Scotty Cameron makes stock that is in that kind of first quarter of toe hang. From what I understand. So this, I actually ended up going with the Odyssey Atlanta Toulon. I'm not a fan of insert putters. I really prefer like a solid milled face. So I really like this. I really like a heavier putter too, just because I like to feel that putter almost gliding through. So really big fan. This is actually bent to about 2 or 2.5 degrees flat as well. Still 4 degrees of loss. And I've actually got the Stroke Lab Odyssey putter in there. So it does have the counterweight in the butt. I just really love the feel. I really like the look as well, as far as like the top line look. It's got that black finish with the white line. It is a long line, which typically I don't like, but because it's inside that almost runway, I really like the feel of it, and visually just nice to line up. I do like a little bit more of a clean finish, but I did want to switch to a mallet because I was putting with a custom Scotty blade that was made for me back in my junior golf days. So, and the last piece would be the ball. So I am playing the Titleist Pro V1 right now. Obviously from a spin perspective, you can see from the shafts and everything, I do have a tendency to overspin things. So playing the Pro V1, I do like a black line for alignment with putting, but I've been a really big fan of this, especially with the trajectory, especially with the wedge trajectory. So like I mentioned earlier, I tend to hit my wedges a little bit too high. I do feel like with the Pro V1, I do control that trajectory a bit better than some other balls I've tested, and really like the feel off the club face. So Pro V1 it is for now, and that is the what's in the bag. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about anything that's in the bag right now, please leave them in the comments below. I'm not an extreme equipment junkie, but I do like tinkering and looking and knowing the numbers and all that. So I was really patient in this process, and it took me a while to assemble this. So I've really enjoyed this process. I hope you guys like what's in the bag. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We got a lot coming for the comeback series, so stay tuned. And until next time, take no off switch in the pursuit of results.